here. In this world, there existed 9 races: dragon newts, elves, ghouls, dwarves, demons, centaurs, dark elves, beastmen, and lastly, humans. Out of the 9 races, humans were looked down upon the most and were known as the weakest race. Our protagonist, Light, was fighting against large centipedes and losing until a person of every race had come into the area to save him. These people were his friends and were hundreds of levels ahead of him, all of them telling him to leave the fighting to them. After they defeated the centipedes, the group left the dungeon and the blonde elf, Sasha, started to reprimand Light for going into the most brutal dungeon, the Abyss. Guru saw the exchange and teased the girl, everyone else joining in to tease her as well. Light interrupted the moment to announce to everyone that he was sorry for not being useful to the group, but Drago said that he was good enough for the group by making good tea, trying his best to comfort the boy. Humans were called the weakest, yet Light's party, the gathering of races, didn't have that same mindset and treated everyone such as Light equally. He was glad to have joined the lightest, well-known, free-to-play. Clarified that it was just because they didn't need him anymore. Guys, let me introduce the party. Light, Drago walked up to him and told him that they had decided to kick him out of the party. Light, Drago by making good tea. The gathering of races didn't have that same happily catching up with the rest of the group. They finally found an empty and well-lit cave, and Light assumed that it was for a break, starting to prepare some tea for the group. However, they weren't here to relax. Drago walked up to him and told him that they had decided to kick him out of the party. Light misunderstood and apologized for his actions that day, promising to never do it again. But Guru clarified that it was just because they didn't need him anymore. Guys, let me introduce you to our sponsor, extremely different champions that I chose voice in the comments for 7 different days. The boy Light joined because of his gift. At 10 years old, everyone gets an extremely small chance at getting a gift. Light being lucky with his unlimited gacha. Whenever he would push the button, he would get a card that provides an object to him, but the 12-year-old boy could only produce useless stuff, which Drago agreed that was the very reason they didn't need him anymore. Higher-ups wanted Light to be observed for his powers, only for him to end up being both useless and a human. Sasha forward in amusement and kicked the boy to say how she from a monster attack, otherwise magic. Sasha yelled that they all agreed to lie that Light died from a monster attack, otherwise they would be suspicious. Guru stood over the teary-eyed boy, ready to give one last slash to kill him, until Light started to drag himself away from Light could think about what seemed to have activated a teleportation trap, and disappeared right before Guru could kill him. Light see his family again. He didn't know what he did to deserve all of those things that just happened to him, being raised by and seemingly being friends with everyone in the group until it was all found out to be a lie. The boy grit his teeth and started to curse in a rage from the betrayal, vowing to kill them when he could. However, that would mean he would have to get out of this dungeon alive, led by his blood, and were level 1000, something he couldn't even comprehend beating. There was nowhere else Light could run while being the level that he was, but he still didn't want to die and tried to use his gift Unlimited Gacha. He yelled at the gift to give him anything to distract the monster so he could meet his family again and get revenge on the ones who betrayed him. And suddenly, a light appeared, blinding the monster and confusing Light. The monster still tried to run at and eat the boy, making him believe that it was over, until a voice called out to reprimand it. A woman appearing from the light to slice the dog-like monster to pieces, while Light stared at her in awe. The mysterious woman that had defeated all the monsters in the area gracefully landed on the ground as pieces of the monster flew all over the place. She stood opposed to the boy who was sitting on the ground, shock covering his face as he stared in disbelief and silence at the woman who had saved him. The woman stared back with an unreadable expression until she suddenly kneeled before Light and looked at him with a worried look. Light stumbled over his words and she explicitly spoke. She started to compliment the boy's features, calling him her lord, and she explained to him that she had healed his injuries and apologized for being selfish because of it. Light looked down at his body and realized that all of his wounds were gone, and the pain had gone away like it was never there in the first place. The woman asked Light to use his supposedly beautiful voice to tell her his name. Once he had introduced himself, she stared at him with light in her eyes as she started to repeat his name, calling it wonderful and rare card, the level herself. Sweat as he sat there and thought before the maid asked him if she could have the privilege of introducing herself. The woman finally introduced herself as a super ultra rare card, the level 9999 Seeker Maid May, and explained that she was summoned by Light's gift, surprising him. May vowed to always be in the boy's care even after death and to make sure that nothing would lay a finger on his skin. Light still didn't believe that someone as powerful as her could come out of his gift, his words being interrupted by the woman begging to not use any formalities in front of her. He did as told, and May immediately switched back to a serious expression, asking if she could use her identify ability to make sure his gift wasn't a defect. Light gave her permission and the woman inspected him, complimenting the boy for his powers and explaining how it worked. His gift, Unlimited Gacha, was affected by the thickness of the surrounding magic it absorbed to produce cards, meaning that while he was producing useless cards on the surface, it was understandable as to why he would have summoned someone like May in the deepest part of the dungeon. May was impressed that her master was able to come down to the lowest floor by himself just to summon her, but wondered why he didn't have any weapons. The boy knew her words were incorrect, as he started to cry and correct the woman, explaining to May how taking him to the biggest and most evil dungeon. Light thanked the May she would assist him in his wish, having full faith that he could do what he wanted. Light thanked the maid and proceeded to use his gift once again in this world's biggest and most evil dungeon, the Abyss. This marked the start of his revenge story. 3 years later, in the deepest part of the Abyss, Light walked through the hall of a castle filled with many upon many maids as he complimented everyone on their good work. All the women thanked him, and when he left, started to scream in excitement at how the boy spoke to them. A woman beside Light asked if she should shut them up, but the boy was fine with it. An angry voice could be heard in the distance, outside in the training center of the place, as Light walked out and found with happiness. These 3 women were known with each other. Light called out to them, and they all stared at him with happiness. These 3 women were known as Nizuna, the true vampire knight, Eri, the forbidden mage, and Aoyuki, the monster tamer. He told them that there was something he had to tell the 3 of them, but his words were interrupted by the presence of a hellhound, making Light freeze up for a moment because of the memories from 3 years ago. The 3 women stood in front of Light with a rage in their eyes as they were ready to protect him, which effectively scared the monster. Light told them that he was fine and started to pet the petrified monster, before it was announced that the prey had been caught. Everyone started to cheer as they walked off with evil looks on their faces, ready to enact the first part of the revenge. Guru was seen at the major city of the wolves, Akura. He was greeted by many people. A sudden wanted to focus his thoughts on how he was going to be at the top soon enough. May walked into the room and caught the interest of Guru as he asked what she wanted. The maid begged him to show her where Light last went to for a big compensation, surprising Guru since he didn't know that the boy had noble blood. He put the thoughts aside as he was too busy thinking about having some fun and selling the woman when he was done, telling May that he would accept the quest to save him. And May kneeled down with tears, praying. He nodded at the other wolves as they blocked the only exit in the cave, not being there for Light earlier when he was betrayed. Guru was shocked by her knowledge and jumped back in defense, asking her who she worked for. May reminded Guru about how she swore her loyalty to Light, and gave a powerful aura strong enough to make everyone in the room shiver and freeze, including Guru himself. Suddenly, a voice called out to May how it wasn't her turn, causing Guru to whip his body around at the familiar voice. Once Light had pulled down his hood, the wolfman stared with shock at the man who he thought was dead. Light waved and gave a bright smile to Guru as he excitedly told the wolfman that he was there for his revenge after 3 long years. Guru stood in shock before he composed himself and started to laugh. Still survived out there, but believed that the dragon ignorant Guru was being. But Guru still believed that him and his men were stronger than the 2 in the room, looking down on the 2 just because they were human. Guru laughed maniacally to protect him. The wolfman ordered the others to block the exit and kill the boy. 2 beast men immediately dashing toward Light with hungry looks, until their heads were suddenly cut clean off by May. Everyone started to shiver in fear, but Guru ordered them to calm down as he still believed they couldn't lose. Light sighed at the fact that Guru was still looking down on them after that scene, even after 3 whole years. Guru was offended and started to couldn't do the same. In this world, one's level determined their value in the world, and Guru felt that he was on top at level 158. Light didn't want to lose, even as a human who didn't naturally have specialties and high levels like other races. The boy asked why there were heads rolling on the ground, but Guru believed that it was a trick and ordered everyone to prepare staff to swiftly beat up every single one of the beastmen. In such a small amount of time, Light used his staff to swiftly beat up every single one of the beastmen, including Guru, sending them all flying, while May watched in the distance with adoring eyes. All of the beastmen coughed and groaned, trying to recover from the hits as they tried to get back up, but Light had no reaction at all to the situation, and instead was looking down at Guru with a cold look, asking him what was wrong. Guru looked up at Light with a rage until he suddenly threw up from being hit in the gut, coughing as he struggled to get back up onto his feet. He started to chant to himself, trying to remember his hate for humans while he was in disbelief that he, a monster, could lose to the inferior race. The Wolfman screamed at the boy to not look down on him and pulled something out from a bag, surprising Light as he watched Guru jump back and reveal a small pearl. He called out for a person named Fenrir to be summoned. Guru grinned as he explained that it would. He grit his power of the monster that was level 500 situation. Guru still believed that Light was using tricks against him and threatened to make the boy regret for not killing him immediately. But Light interrupted his moment by asking if that was really his trump card, considering he thought that level 500 was still too weak against him. Guru laughed in disbelief and asked if Light had lost his mind, claiming that Light must. The boy stayed silent, while the Wolfman continued bragging and said that amusement, until the small boy sighed and looked forward with a smile, telling Guru that he would stay in place and let the boring trump card do its thing. Guru felt offended and ordered Fenrir to turn Light into ashes as the canine monster used its breath as a cannon attack. Usually it would be a one-hit kill, but Light just stood there and didn't get a scratch on him, wiping off the dust while Guru stared in shock. He knew that the only way to explain the situation was a huge gap of power, but he just couldn't believe that Light somehow had a far higher level, his thoughts interrupted by Light saying that it was his turn. Pulling out a card, the boy was ready to show Guru the real Fenrir at level 9,000. A wolf made out of pure light appeared from thin air and stood proudly behind Light before being ordered to kill the dog behind Guru, simply just blowing air in the direction of Guru's monster and freezing it immediately before it shattered into pieces. Light praised Fenrir and started to pet the large dog, while Guru fell to the ground in fear, asking how the boy had something like that. Light explained with a smile that he didn't even need to summon Fenrir, because he himself was level 9,999 after all these years. Guru stared up in fear at Light, his body shivering. His minions behind him were also scared for their lives, as one of them said that he had previously believed that a human's average level should be around 100. Light explained that May was also level 9,999, making Guru realize that Light was the real deal, and he wasn't messing around with his power. He was still in disbelief that the boy in front of him was really the Light he knew before, remembering him from 3 years ago. Guru was more focused on the fact that his appearance hadn't changed, but the boy explained that he used a wristband of immortality that he got from his gacha gift to stop his growth, just so he could remember his feelings of despair, sorrow, and rage from all those years ago. Guru stared at the boy, knowing that he was a monster who could kill him, and immediately slammed his hands onto the ground in a bow. He apologized for being rude and tried to make an excuse, saying that he only tried to kill Light because it was an order from the country, claiming that Light could do whatever he wanted with the other beastmen as long as Guru lived. Everyone continued to beg the boy to remember the good memories they had together. Light finally spoke and said that he would ask Guru something before the whole letting him go thing, and asked about what country they meant when they mentioned something about a master, but Guru seemed to not know anything at all. Guru said that the beastmen didn't have as many skills as the other races, meaning they weren't told anything about the mission. The boy asked the other wolves if they seemed to know anything, everyone starting to jump up in the hope that telling Light would let them live. However, that wasn't the case, as May quickly sliced them all to pieces, knowing that all of their intentions were just to lie to Light. Their blood splattered all around Guru, while the Wolfman's body shook with terror as Light asked one last question: if he thought that Light could win against all the countries on the surface with how strong he was. Guru admitted that he truly believed Light was powerful, but it would be almost impossible to win against all of them, because of all of the years of history and legendary grade weapon and armor they possessed. Light hummed in thought, before smiling at how Guru had told the truth and agreed that they would definitely have limits despite their power. Suddenly, Light pulled out a teleportation card to use, and Light enveloped the group. Eyes closed until he realized that he was still alive, and looked around in bewilderment, wondering where they were. An extremely large room with hundreds, if not thousands of people of all races who stood organized, leaving enough space for Light to walk toward a throne. He sat on the chair as everyone bowed in his presence, before they were asked by the boy to raise their heads and display their status boards. In seconds, the message boxes appeared all around the room, as everyone in that room were levels above what Guru could comprehend. Evil eyes from around the room were all staring at Guru, while Light explained that in the 3 years he was down there, he had raised all of these people just by using his own power. The boy then asked the same question from earlier of if he could win against all the people on the surface. But Guru couldn't answer and could only feel the life in him leave his body, making Light feel confident. The wolf man managed to speak and asked if the boy was something like a god, causing Light to realize how the sound of that label felt good to him. He wondered what he should give to the world with his gift, and was about to decide based on what the truth was about why the other countries wanted him dead. Light was going to find out whether he should become a gift holder that bestowed happiness, or the one that gave death and despair. The boy stood up from his chair and announced to everyone in the room that they were going to rise up from the abyss and seek truth and revenge from the people on the surface. A few days later, after Light's revenge against Guru, before the team set off for their next plan, they came to the boy's former village to visit the graves made for his parents. Light stared at the graves with a saddened look, holding a bouquet of flowers before placing it on top of the dirt of the graves. The reason why the village was now Light's former village was because someone had destroyed it. This was also not the boy's first time coming to the surface, his first being half a year ago, way before his revenge against Guru. The abyss was deeper than what was originally thought, and Light's teleport skill was unable to be used to get quickly to the surface. After a long time of figuring out how to get around the restrictions, the group was finally able to get out of the abyss and went to Light's village. However, the boy would stare in horror at the remains of the village he once knew. Nothing was left behind, and there was no person left alive. Light falling to his knees while he wailed in grief. After burying everyone's bodies, he used the power of everyone with him to try to find out what happened to the village. But there was no sure trace of the truth to be found. The only positive that Light saw in the situation was that he couldn't find the bodies of his siblings, meaning that there was at least a chance of them being out there alive, causing Light to dispatch people to gather information and a culprit. A knight in gold armor walked up to the boy and asked if he was done so they could depart immediately and not have to sleep outside for their first day of traveling. A woman called out to the knight, who was known as Gold, and reprimanded him for speaking so casually to Light. This woman was named Nimumu, and she told him to watch his attitude and speak with respect toward the boy, but Gold explained that formalities sounded awkward, asking the girl if she wanted to sleep outside herself. Nimumu tried to claim that she didn't care where the group would sleep as long as she was with Light, but the knight tried to explain that it would probably be best for the sake of the boy that they should avoid camping outside, making the girl realize his point. Gold had also warned Nimumu that she should lessen her loyalty to Light in the case that he would come to dislike her, causing the girl to start crying in worry, but she still vowed to fulfill her duty as a servant. Light started to chuckle at the sight in front of him and reassured both of them that he would never hate any of them. These two people were Light's guards, while he acted as a traveling adventurer on the surface, being both level 5,000. The plan had started, and the three of them would set off for their journey to find information on things, and Light's next target was Sasha. Eri was already preparing for his revenge against the elf girl, but they would have to initiate this adventurer plan in the meantime. The reason for that was that he monsters or bandits, he knew that it had a connection with it. Even if Light's village's destruction was because of monsters or bandits, he knew that it had a connection with this master. A rage started to fill Light's small body as his fist tightened, knowing that he would burn the world down. Gold and Nimumu shivered in fear before the boy sighed and calmed down, putting on a clown mask and telling the others that it was time to go. All three of them started to fly through the air toward a certain direction. Nimumu asked Light if they were heading toward a city in the Dwarf Kingdom, to which the boy confirmed. The city of Dagas, a place where a dungeon was discovered and people would usually be gathered at. Gold told Nimumu that she should be careful of what she calls Light when they reach the ground, the boy agreeing and letting
This one. streaming? You are? I say hi to you in chat, in stream chat, or you didn't see that. Did you see I say hi in chat? Oh. What are you doing in the caves? Your inventory full, your stuff is floating by you. Are you into your inventory so you can take your stuff off? Your stuff won't teleport with you. See? It didn't teleport with you. You showing it playing with you? Or you on the multiplayer server? What? Oh, is someone playing with you? I saw 2 claims. I thought. You know? Hey, look, you can see in the chat that it's a heart. It's a heart. Hmm? Hmm. The chat. played this mod pack before? Which one? I want to show you. This mod pack. Have you played that mod pack before? Have you played the mod pack I send you in the Discord? I send you a mod pack in Discord. Have you played that one? No? To play it or no? You want to play that mod pack or no? Oh. Mm.